Hello and welcome to our general election candidate ballot summary. I'm Jordan Butterfield. I'm going to be your host tomorrow evening along with Christine Lott for our main general election results show. But for tonight, I'm just going to go down the list. We're going to look through things that people are going to see on their ballots and just help inform people before they go out to vote tomorrow. So we can just dive into it right at the top of the ticket. We're going to start with U.S. Senate. This is one of the big races. Senator Patrick Leahy retiring and shaking things up in our U.S. delegation a little bit. We have Peter Welch, former congressperson who's been in Congress for 15 years, running for Patrick Leahy's Senate seat. He's running as a Democrat. He's challenged by Gerald Malloy, the Republican candidate. Small government, I wouldn't say came out of nowhere, but he was not. He beat out Christina Nolan, who is a long-standing figure in Vermont politics. So newcomers in the Republican Party beating out long-standing folks. We also have, for U.S. Senate, we have Carrie Patrick Raheb, Chris Erickson, Dawn Marie Ellis, Stephen Duke, and Mark Coaster running as independents, and Natasha Diamondstone Cohout running for the Green Mountain Party. So that's the Senate. Everybody is going to see that Senate race on their ballots. Now we can move on to representative to Congress. This is filling Peter Welch's former seat because he's no longer running for that seat. Becca Ballot is running as the Democrat for that seat. She's been in the state Senate in Vermont for a long time. She's been president pro tempore. This will also make Vermont one of the, Vermont is the only state to never send a woman to Congress, so this may be a change tomorrow evening. So she's running as the Democrat. For the Republicans, we have Liam Madden, kind of an interesting situation here. Liam Madden ran in the Republican ticket because he saw it as the less crowded field and is more questioning the two-party system. He's kind of an outsider candidate, came in, won the Republican primary, and he also was not supported by the Republican caucus because he said he would not vote with the Republican caucus if he was elected to Congress, so the Republican Party would not offer him funding. One of his former opponents on the Republican primary, Erica Reddick, is still running. She's running as a Libertarian. And then we also have Adam Ortiz, Luke Talbert, and Matt Druzba running as independents. Moving on to governor, we have Phil Scott running as a Republican, the incumbent. He's been governor for a long time, a decent amount of time, fairly popular, and he is challenged by Brenda Siegel running as the Democrat. We also have Peter Duval, Kevin Hoyt, and Bernard Peters running as independents. Moving down the list for state races, we have lieutenant governor. We've got Joe Benning running against David Zuckerman and Ian G. Diamondstone. David Zuckerman has been the lieutenant governor before. He stepped down from that seat last cycle to run against Phil Scott for governor. He's coming back to this seat again. Joe Benning has also been in I believe it was the state Senate. One of the things he said is that he thinks David Zuckerman is running is hoping to go to another spot down the road, another seat down the road, and Joe Benning has said, I want to be the lieutenant governor for a little while. And we also have Ian G. Diamondstone as an independent. Not a lot of information about him, as you can see. Continuing to move down the line, we got state treasurer. We're moving down to more the state titles. A lot of these saw tons of turnover, so a lot of longtime people retiring from their seats and allowing new people to fill in. So for state treasurer, formerly Beth Pierce, we have Mike Pichek running as the Democrat, running against H. Brooke Page as the Republican. H. Brooke Page, you'll hear his name again. He runs as a Republican in many races when other Republicans won't step forward. We also have the Secretary of State, Jim Kondos, retired from his post. And we have Sarah Copeland Hansis running as the Democrat, and H. Brooke Page running as the Republican. For Auditor of Accounts, we have Doug Hoffer running as the Democratic Progressive, been in that seat for a long time, being challenged by Richard Morton, the Republican. And then for Attorney General, we have Charity R. Clark, who was T.J. Donovan's Chief of Staff. T.J. Donovan, the former Attorney General, who stepped down from his post to take a post at Roblox, and she is challenged by Michael Tagliava. That was kind of an interesting one. H. Brooke Page was the person on the ballot for the Republicans, and then Michael Tagliava stepped in to take that spot down the road. Michael Tagliava doesn't have a legal background, but he's very interested in the post. We had a good forum on here a couple weeks ago with the two of them. And those are all the state races, so everybody's going to see all these items that I just went through on their ballots. And now we're going to go to some of the more local stuff. I'm going to start out with Chittenden State Senate. The State Senate is a little bit different this year than it used to be. Chittenden used to be one district with 6 senators. It was a very large district and had a lot of people were not fond of the way that district worked. Felt it wasn't very democratic. So in the redistricting that just happened for the legislature and the state senate, we have a new map. We've got this right over here. We have Chittenden North, which is Essex, Milton, Fairfax, and Westford is under the Chittenden North sign here. We have Burlington Central, which covers Burlington, Winooski, Essex Junction, and some space in between. And then we have Chittenden Southeast, which is South Burlington, Shelburne, Williston, St. George, Underhill, Bolton, Richmond. The list goes on. So these districts have changed a lot. Chittenden Southeast is certainly a much more rural district than it used to be. Chittenden North the same, and the Chittenden Central District really focusing on that Burlington metropolitan area. So for Chittenden Central, we have 4 people running for that seat. We have Phil Baruth, an incumbent. He was at the state senate. He's a Democratic Progressive. And if he does win this seat, he is expected to become the president pro tempore of the Senate. And Chittenden Central, this is 3 seats, so there are 3 seats in this district. We also have Martine LaRocque Gulick running as the Democrat. She will be new to both the legislature and the Senate. She'll be brand new in there. She was on the school board, and she just barely beat out Erhard Manka by 2 votes in the Democratic primary. We also have Tanya Vyovsky, progressive Democrat, who was the representative from Essex, who has moved into running for the Senate. And then we have Infinite Colcleisure, former Burlington mayor candidate, running as an independent. So that is 3 seats for 4 people running for it. Moving on to Chittenden North. Chittenden North is, like I said, Essex, Milton, Westford, and Fairfax. We have 2 people running for this seat. We have Irene Renner running as the Democrat. Irene was on the Essex Select Board and has been heavily involved in some of the merger discussions. She's a well-known Essex politician. And Leland Morgan was the representative for the Grand Isle, Colchester area. He's from Milton. And he is running as a Republican, trying to move into the Senate. This should be an interesting one. Going to keep a close eye on it. The Republicans thought this was their best chance of picking up a seat in the area. We'll see how that goes tomorrow evening. And then let's go to Chittenden South, Chittenden Southeast. We have 3 incumbents, former state senators, trying to return to their seats. We have Thomas Chittenden, the Democrat, Ginny Lyons, a Democrat, and Keisha Ram Hinsdale, Democratic Progressive, all incumbents running to take their seats again. We also have Dean Rolland running as a Republican. He's run for the state senate before. And Rowan St. Mart running for the Republican seat. He's new to the race. And so we have 4 incumbents running. The 2 former state senators who stepped down were Michael Sirotkin and Chris Pearson. So those are all the state senate seats. Now we can go to the districts, the representative districts. Long list here, going to go through a bunch of different names. Here's a map of the area as it's changed. You can find this on the Secretary of State's website, Vermont Legislative lookup. So I'm going to just go down this list, make a little bit of commentary every now and then once it comes in. Let's see here. Starting in Williston, we have a 2-seat district, Chittenden 2. We have Angela Arsenault running as a Democrat, Erin Brady running as a Democrat, she is an incumbent, and then Tony O'Rourke running as a Republican, and Bruce Roy running as a Republican. That other seat was formerly Jim McCullough, who has retired this go-round. Moving on to South Burlington. South Burlington is seeing a lot of turnover this cycle. A lot of one-person seats and a lot of unopposed candidates. So we have Noah Hyman running as a Democrat for Chittenden 8, unopposed. We have Emily Krasnow, also a Democrat, for Chittenden 9, also unopposed. Kate Nugent for Chittenden 10, unopposed. Brian Minier, Chittenden 11, unopposed, all new representatives. And then in Chittenden 12, we have Martin Lalonde, the incumbent, who has been in the legislature for a little while. We have Townsend, Pugh, and Kalaki were the representatives who left. Moving into Burlington and Chittenden 13, we have a contest. We have Tiff Bloomley and Gabrielle Stebbins, both running as Democrats, both incumbents, challenged by Tom Licata, an independent. They have run against each other before in the previous cycle. In Chittenden 14, we have Barbara Rachelson, a Democratic Progressive, and Mary Catherine Stone, also a Democratic Progressive. In Chittenden 15, we have 2 seats, Brian Chena and Troy Hedrick, both Progressive Democrats. Brian Chena is an incumbent. Troy Hedrick will be new to the legislature. In Chittenden 16, we have 2 seats, Jill Krowinski, a Democrat, an incumbent, and she is the House Speaker. Kate Logan is a Progressive Democrat new to the legislature. In Chittenden 17, we have 1 seat, Emma Mulvaney Stanek, a Progressive Democrat. She is an incumbent. And in Chittenden 18, we have 2 seats, Robert Hooper and Carol Odie, both Democrats, both incumbents. Going to Winooski, Chittenden 21, we have 2 seats. We have Daisy Berbecco running as a Democrat, Jordan Matt as an independent, and Taylor Small running as a Progressive Democrat. She is the incumbent. Then moving to Chittenden 22, we have 2 seats. This is in Essex, this is in the Essex area. We have Karen Dolan and Lori Houghton, both Democrats, both incumbents, running against Seth Adam Manley, the Republican. In Chittenden 23, we have 2 seats. We have Leonora Dodge Maurice running as a Democrat, Maurice Dunbar running as a Republican, Ray Garofano running as a Democrat, she's an incumbent, and Dennis White running as a Republican. Then going to Chittenden 24, we have 1 seat, Alyssa Black, the Democrat, and the incumbent, being challenged by Roger Drury, the Republican. And then we have some of the down ticket folks. We've got the probate judge, Gregory Glennon, Democratic Republican, not challenged. We have Suzanne Brown and Connie Kane Ramsey, both Democrats, running for assistant judge. We have Sarah George, Democratic Progressive, running for state's attorney. She is not opposed. For sheriff, we have Dan Gamelin, Democratic Republican, incumbent. And then for high bailiff, we have Michael R. Major, Democratic Republican, and James A. Mallon, independent. So those are all of the local ballot items. You'll see those folks depending on where you are in our coverage area. And then let's talk about some of the bond items, the ballot items that you'll be seeing. So in Burlington, a big topic that's been on everybody's minds for a long time, Burlington High School. The BHS bond is going to be up for a vote. $165 million, largest bond in the state. That will be a big vote. Some of these bonds have been voted down in the last several years. South Burlington was proposing a $200 million high school, which was not supported. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. You'll only see that on your ballot if you are in Burlington. Then we have a communications union district. A communications union district it's an organization of 2 or more towns creating a municipal entity to build communications infrastructure. It would serve underserved locations at speeds of at least 100 upload and 100 download megabytes per second. There are currently 9 CUDs throughout the state. Chittenden County does not have one. The places that will have this on their ballot, whether or not they would like to join and start a CUD, are Williston, Essex, Essex Junction, and South Burlington. If even 2 vote in favor of it, the CUD will come into effect, and then other towns can join it afterwards. We also have the CSWD MRF bond. If you go to the polls in person, they'll hand you 2 different ballots. They'll hand you the main ballot, and then they'll hand you the CSWD MRF bond ballot. The recent changes in Vermont election law do not allow regional municipal entities like CSWD to mail their ballot to all voters or have it included on a general election ballot. So if you requested a ballot, you would only have received the CSWD ballot if you had requested that specific ballot. But this ballot item is for a new materials recovery facility. They need voter approval to borrow $22 million to build this new MRF. The current MRF was designed and built in '93 to process 25,000 tons, which they are well beyond their capacity at this point. So they're looking to build a new MRF that will handle up to 70,000 tons. And the life expectancy of that type of facility is about 30 years. So that is the CSWD MRF bond. And then we have 2 proposals. We have Proposal 2, Prop 2. A yes vote supports amending the state constitution to repeal language stating that persons could be held as servants, slaves, or apprentices with the person's consent. So Vermont prides itself on being one of the first states, I think the first state in the union to abolish slavery, but it's still in the Constitution. It allows people to enter into that if it's of their consent or for the payments of debts, damages, fines, costs, or the like. This proposal would remove this language altogether and simply say slavery and indentured servitude in any form are prohibited. We also have Proposal 5. This amends the state constitution of Vermont, adding language that an individual's right to personal reproductive autonomy is central to the liberty and dignity to determine one's own life course and shall not be denied or infringed unless justified by a compelling state interest achieved by the least restrictive means. So that'll be interesting to see how that comes down. And then, and then in Essex Junction specifically, Essex Junction is a new city. And so there are several articles that they need to pass just as a new city. For example, Article 1, shall the city of Essex Junction join the Green Mountain Transit Authority? Article 2, will they join the Winooski Valley Park District? Article 3 will be the CUD. Essex Junction is one of the cities that are voting on the CUD. And then Article 4, shall licenses for the sale of malt and vinous beverages be granted in the city of Essex Junction, and Article 5, shall spirits and fortified wines be sold in the city of Essex Junction. So a few basic city items. If you are in any of the Chittenden County towns, you can see that CSWD MRF bond. Proposal 2 and Proposal 5 will be on everybody's ballot. It's a statewide item. The Essex Junction items will only be in Essex Junction, and the BHS bond will only be in Burlington. And that about does it. That goes down the list. Please tune in to our election night coverage tomorrow evening. We're going to have folks at the Democratic Party at Hula in Burlington, and we're going to have some folks at the Republican Party in Barrie. We're going to have an analysts coming in to talk about what they're seeing as things come down the pipe. Some national coverage as well. Should be a very fun night. Looking forward to people joining us. You can watch us online on YouTube. You can watch us on our channels, Comcast 1087 and Burlington Telecom 217 and 317. We're also airing on MMC TV and BC TV, as well as Orca Media. Also, big thanks to Orca, GNAT, and Media Factory for helping us out with this coverage. Yeah, it's going to be a great night. And Christine Lott will be here with me, and we'll be here with you for about 2.5 hours. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow.